we've been talking in the last weeks about how we can make this process simpler. So again, the concept here is first, how can we apply remote sensing to be more productive? That's number one. That's the agronomic side of things, why we do things. And the other side is how we do things. Because one barrier may be that it's good, it's beneficial, but it's too complicated. So the second thing what we're trying to answer is how we can apply in a simple and effective way. So this is what we're trying to achieve. It's an integrated process using GIS, GPS, remote sensing, and the idea is to streamline the process, support the planning and implementation of field visits, involve the producer in every step, and integrate all the information for current and future analysis. So going back to the cornstalk sampling example, there will be steps implemented in an integrated system. The first step would be to define the land unit boundaries, and I will quickly, we'll be working in the exercises. We'll be posting this data as a sample data set for your review. And so you have the experience to, let's say, start a new project, and so this would be part of the assignment, and it's just to give you an opportunity to have a hands-on experience. And then you would say download data, and I will look into tutorials, and there you will have this data set would be available there, and you would download it. I'm not going to do it now because in the interest of time, but so you have access to this. But in a real so this will be the desktop tool that you can use to review this data and to see how the process would be implemented. In addition to this, especially in the first step, we are preparing a web-based tool that works integrated with this. That's under development. Will be available in February. But just to give an idea of what we're talking about. So one of the first issues is to define the land unit boundaries and maybe get confirmation from the farmer, eliminate all those projection issues. So the process would start with and this is under development, and it's just to give an idea of how the process can be simplified. You will have access to the desktop tool, to GeoGIS, to see the data. And this is under development, it's just for information purposes, but the way it would work is that you have like a dashboard where you have all the different services and layers, and in that interface, then you would be able to draw. And again, this is in development, so I will. And we have a mix. We have developers in Spanish and English, so we have a mix of Spanish and English. But basically, this allows to have the land units in a web-based interface, and it also allows to quickly correct mistakes or incorporate new fields. So I'll just start with a new field, and then I will just add some data. So it's field 23. So the idea would be to have a web-based interface, and the desktop client, which is used for heavier analysis, would use that data. So that way you could send a link to the producer and confirm and modify what's needed in the land unit boundaries. So that would take care of step number one. Then the goal here is to integrate all the information in one tool. So for instance, the background imagery would be available, or the topography would be available. And these are all web-based services that connect to government databases or to private companies' databases. The idea is also to bring some vendors, so that's the topography, or the soils information is also downloaded from the web soil survey, Or in this case, Iowa Soybean Association uses an aerial imagery provider, so that we have to set up the links so that image is also available. So the manager, Martha, doesn't have to go to their site, download it, georeference it, change the projection, and upload it, with the added benefit that this would be accessible for the producer, the consultant, and Martha, and the manager. So we're trying to integrate information, integrate processes, and integrate the teams. So basically, you can give access to anyone. So to anyone who's interested in the data. So this would be available on your desktop for offline use or for more in detail analysis. It will be available on the web, so it can be shared with other people from the team, which is an important point, because maybe, or most likely, the producer will not have access to any. They don't want to install any GIS software. Many of them. Some of them are really hands-on and they want to do it, but most of them, they just want a link that they can go to and see their fields and see their different reports. I'm just bringing a yield processing report, so it would be a good. And this is automatically generated from the database. Of course, we're testing this first in Spanish. It will be in English and Portuguese as well. So this is the concept of having the information available online and having it available on the desktop, and that's what we are going to have the opportunity to play with. The other part of the process is bringing this data to support the field visit. So the GPS is also an important part. So besides planning, as Martha said, this is a manual process where there's experience and there's a soil type and there's a little bit of knowing the history and also the imagery to see which parts are greener or which parts have deficiencies. This could be automated, so we'll review a little bit of imagery automation at the end of the conversation today. And also, you could enter points manually. So basically, let's say that I want to sample a few more other points, and I could use other information such as yield maps or NDVI imagery. The other important piece that you can try when you download this sample data set is the GPS part. So let's say I have this high points layer. I want to download it to the GPS. So I'm going to bring it from the GIS and then choose high points and then click on accept. I should have here what I'm doing. I'm matching the point number to the identifier in the GPS, so you can view it in the little GPS screen. Right now, I think we haven't put it. Oh yes, there were numbers. So you see, these are the original points that Martha defined with our consultants, and these are the additional points that I just entered. And it will be just a matter of connecting to the GPS and downloading. And there's a lot of interesting things that you can do, bringing information back and forth from the GPS. So having said that, the idea is to simplify the process of using this information effectively. Bringing the different sources of information into the project, selecting the points to visit, and then sharing that information with the consultant, and then having all that information, analysis, and reports. It's critical to make it simpler. So I will move forward with the next part of the presentation. I don't know if there are any other questions. I will quickly check on that. How many images of a field of corn would you recommend to take through the year based on your experience? This is a very interesting question, and we'll review that shortly in the second part of the presentation. Really, it depends also on what you're using to acquire images. If you're using it as Landsat, and we'll review this in detail, but if you're using Landsat imagery that has pre-scheduled dates every 16 days, more or less days, but it may happen that you have clouds in some dates. So usually you get 3 to 4 images. So really you receive the usable images without clouds. So it varies the number of images that you can get. Usually we download all the images that are available, and some of them will be usable because they don't have clouds, and some of them will not be usable. That with Landsat systems. Then you will have other providers, Rapid Eye with 5-meter resolution, or GeoVantage, which was the aerial imagery company. They were, of course, they can the company that's acquiring imagery through flights. They won't have any trouble with clouds because they will be planning the flights, and that will have a higher cost. Or Rapid Eye has some tasking capabilities, meaning that they can program the dates with a little bit more flexibility than the other systems. So really 3 to 4, it's a rule of thumb, and the number of the images that you get will depend on the system you acquire, and also the cost, because you will have different options with different resolutions, and with some advantages like what I mentioned, Rapid Eye with more flexibility, or an aerial company with even more flexibility, and that also has a cost. What we're trying to do at GeoArc is try to partner, or we're talking with them to partner to provide these services in a simple way to consultants and associations.